On the 11th of September in 2025, the South African Constitutional Court passed down a ruling claiming that men are now allowed to actually take their wives' surnames. The court found that Section 26, subsection 1A to C of the Act is unfairly discriminating on the basis of gender by failing to afford men the right to assume their wives' surnames after marriage. This ruling has left many South African communities worried about how the government continues to shape their cultural norms by creating new laws that is in conflict with the African culture. Greetings to everyone at home. My name is Lunga Lutule, and today we're going to be talking about the new surname ruling that was passed down in South Africa by the Constitutional Court that claims that males or husbands are now able to actually take their wives' surnames. On Friday last week, Ms. Jilim Sindo, an LLB student at Rhodes University who's doing a third year, shared her opinion about this ruling itself. She said that it would be discriminatory to not include or pass down the ruling because it includes both the gender equality for South Africans, males and females.
So, in the judgment, the judge talks about how it would be discriminatory on the basis of gender to essentially not allow for a man to assume their wife's surname. So essentially what it's doing is it's protecting that right, the fundamental right to gender equality and non-discrimination. So they held that the discrimination was essentially unfair, and so the whole point of the case is to protect that right, essentially.
Jilim Sindo continued to say that even though the ruling itself is legally sound, but it has potential of causing conflict within the South African families because of the structures of our cultures in South Africa.
So I think that given the fact that in Xhosa tradition and just African culture in general, it's not considered usually normal, for lack of a better word, for a man to assume their wife's surname. So it can raise a lot of cultural conflicts, especially when, for example, there are family disputes where two couples might want to essentially take the wife's surname, and then maybe there are objections by the family or there are objections by either party to the relationship. So it can raise those essential cultural barriers, and not only in the legal space but also personally in the between the couples and also between families. So it does create tension between African culture, and especially because the judgment is more aligned with Western culture, so its application could be limited. Even though the judgment is essentially legally sound, application could be something that is quite difficult.
Ms. Msindo claims that this ruling is capable of helping others who wish to challenge other rules that are considered as gender biased. As she was about to end her statement, this is what she had to say.
There have been instances in the past where historically there have been customs which have been deemed as biased or patriarchal. And the case that immediately comes to mind is the Bear case, where they essentially ruled against male primogeniture, so that idea of it's the oldest male that inherits from the estate. So that case was based on a lot of previous cases that were decided, but also largely on the constitution. So it will essentially impact further cases or future cases that are to come.
On Saturday, another law student at Rhodes University who's doing his second year, Mr. Kamvelihle Dosi, shared his opinion. He said that he wouldn't say it's a good or a bad thing for the ruling to be passed down, but he also feels like it will create conflict within the South African families.
With regards to this rule, to this new rule, I wouldn't say that it is a good or a bad thing, because it goes with our constitution and it promotes the gender equality between males and females. So I wouldn't say that it is a good thing or a bad thing. With regards to my opinion is that it will cause more conflict with regards to our cultures. As for men, there's this logic of that a man is a head of the house.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. and listening to us unpacking all the stories that affect our communities. This is Lungelo Lutuli in Rhodes University, signing out.